So first of all, we want to thank you for being here. It's so exciting to have you here today. We can't wait to talk to you and find out all about your background and experience.
Well, my journey in corporate America has been unique in the way that I didn't really plan it. I started out when I was an undergrad as a freshman working at a contact center that was close to campus, and I got a job there working on the phones because that's what everybody else was doing. It was really close, and they were flexible with student schedules. And by the time I was a senior, getting ready to graduate, I'd been promoted so many times that I was the director of the entire site. And then from there, every couple of years, I moved around and just built my career chasing up the corporate ladder until I landed at the role I had at Square most recently. Over the years, I've also served on a number of boards, some nonprofit boards, and currently on the public board for Eventbrite. I was also briefly in the US Army, really enjoyed that service time there. And it's just been something that I would have never imagined that I would fall into this space. It was a happy accident, but I'm very much enjoying it. One of my goals in life was always to retire by 40, and I'm very happy to say that I did do that in September of this year. So now, thank you. Yeah. So now I'm just spending my time volunteering, traveling, and serving on boards.
Wonderful. And I thought I had a good career. Yeah. So I think what we'd all like to know now is a little bit about the Naomi behind the resume. Can you share with us your personal journey and how that brought you to where you are today?
Yeah, absolutely. I had an amazing childhood coming up. One of the things that was unique about it is that I grew up in a military family, and not just the typical military family where the dad is in the Army. I had the privilege of dad and mom being in the Army. Imagine what that was like. And so they're both in the Army, both high-ranking officials. So we're moving around the world a lot. We lived in lots of countries, different states. I was always a new kid at school, but I would not have changed that for the world because it gave me the opportunity to see all kinds of people, to get new experiences, to understand various viewpoints of how to think about the world, various perspectives of how to approach problems, different appreciation for culinary. And so just growing up and having that type of viewpoint has really helped inform my leadership strategy because it allowed me to probably be better than the average person at connecting with individuals regardless of where they came from in their world, what their background is, what their belief system is. By having that embedded in me from birth, essentially, it's really helped me in my corporate journey as well.
So I think the thing that really struck me is when you talked about having both parents in the military, that most people do not have that perspective. Mm-hmm. In fact, there was a client that I was meeting with last week, and we got to talking about the military, and she said, you know, I grew up in a military family, and it was wonderful. Mm-hmm. And I said, well, I'm going to be interviewing someone who had two people in the military, and she said it was amazing. So it was a very different perspective. Yeah. Can you talk to us a little bit about the military experience that you had and how that's shaped your leadership?
Absolutely. It's going to sound a little bit cliche-ish, but it's all the things that you guys have heard in the movies about no soldier left behind and getting down into the trenches with your team, really leading by example. That's what the military is. You know, no matter how high-ranking you become, it's important that your soldiers, your platoon knows that you're there for them and that you'd never ask them to do anything that you don't know how to do or are not willing to do. And so bringing that into my civilian life in the corporate world has really helped me be a standout leader that does an above-average job of connecting with people, especially when I'm leading thousands of people. They're located all over the world. I've got to figure out, how do I connect with these folks when there's only one of me? And so I think that servant leadership mindset has really helped me kind of set myself apart because that's just what you learn. And so I had that growing up on military bases. I saw all these soldiers, and that's how they conducted themselves. And obviously, that's what was happening in my household.
Interesting. So I find that what I really find incredible is that the fact that your success is measured by others' success. And there are lots of leaders out there, or should I say bad managers out there, that don't feel that way. So that is really a positive thing. So you are a Black woman in corporate America.
Last time I checked, yes.
I'll bet you have seen some stuff, right? Mm-hmm. Can you talk to us about what the biggest obstacle is that you've ever had to overcome in your career.
Yeah, absolutely. So like she said, I am a Black woman in corporate America.
I figured that out myself.
And I could sit here for hours and talk about stories of racial discrimination, sexual harassment that I've endured as I was climbing the ranks. But surprisingly, the challenge that I had to struggle with mostly, more so than my race or my gender, was actually my age. And it's something that I refer to as reverse ageism. I think we all know what regular ageism is.
I do.
But reverse ageism, I don't know if that's a real term, it's just what I call it, is when you are so young and you're leading people so significantly older than you that basically they don't think that you've earned the right to be there, which to some degree I can understand. But I'll just go back to the first time I became a VP. I was around 24, 25 years old. And I remember leading people. I was over like 1,000 people, and several of my senior managers, senior directors were 50, 55 years old. And when I got that promotion from senior director to VP, I remember the eyes on me, and I was like, this is not because I'm Black. This is not because I'm a woman. They don't think I deserve it because of my age. When they've been working for this company for 30 years and I've been here 3 years, I understand why they feel some kind of way. So I had to work incredibly hard. For those folks who are minorities, you'll know that we've always been told we have to be the best, we have to go above and beyond, never let them see you sweat. And so I had to do that for all those reasons. But the ageism thing was definitely significant because I was constantly proving myself, validating my worth, but it helped me, it gave me a reason to push to always be the best. So it kind of had a hidden benefactor, if you will, in that because I was always striving so hard to be the very best, I was constantly promoted and moving forward, and over time, it was unquestionable what that worth was.
I've never thought of reverse ageism, but I can imagine how
how
much pressure you had on you all the time.
I don't have it so much anymore.
Yeah,
I'm kind of old now.
Now that you're traveling,
yes,
yeah.
In the beginning, it was definitely a thing.
But you're still helping others, which
Yes.
that's what's so cool about it. So if we think through your corporate journey, your personal journey, the obstacles that you've had to overcome, what kind of advice would you give to your younger self, the one that was dealing with all the reverse ageism?
Yeah, I think the first piece of advice would be, for my younger self, but also for anyone that's young and early on in their career, is to really figure out if you truly want to be a leader. I think so often people end up getting into leadership positions solely because they were the very best at their job, and somebody just says, well, they're the best salesperson, make them the sales manager. Or they think that that's just the natural progression of where their career should go. But there's a lot of different ways to grow a career, regardless of what your ambitions are. And oftentimes, when people come to me for mentorship, I find that they are in the leadership position, but they don't really want to be a leader. And there's this stigma attached that if you don't want to be a leader and you're in corporate, there's something wrong with you. And there's not. There's nothing wrong with saying, I don't want to lead people. It's a very thankless job sometimes. You're working very hard. There's not a lot of accolades. You have to be responsible for the productivity and the well-being of so many other people. And it's not very often that someone says thank you. So there's nothing wrong with taking the time to do the soul searching that's necessary to determine if this is truly what you want to do, and are you going to invest in a whole huge group of people to truly make them better, removing yourself from the equation. So I think that's the first thing. And the second thing I would tell younger people, myself included, is to give yourself grace. It's okay if you don't know what the plan is, if you're not sure what your next steps in life are going to be, you're not sure exactly what you want to do in life. Especially for women, there's so much pressure for us to have it all together at all times, to know what success looks like, that we feel like we're failing if we don't exactly have a plan, like step 1, step 2, step 3. And I think it's important that we give ourselves grace to understand that it's okay if you don't know what you want to do. Take the time, do soul searching to figure it out, and don't be too hard on yourself.
Great advice. Love it. Our time here.
Yes, thank you.
Listen to her. She's got great nuggets of wisdom. So our time is winding down here, but I'm wondering if there's one more nugget of information that you would like to leave this audience with so that we can take a couple of steps forward.
Absolutely. I think the biggest life lesson that I would tell people is to not forget about the power of time. And what I mean by this is going to sound a little bit contradictory to what I just said, but just go with me here. What I mean by the power of time is that so often, particularly women, we tend to overanalyze decisions about our life. So much so that we get to a point where we don't actually ever do the thing that we're thinking about doing. So a story that I like to share is that many years ago, I was mentoring this young woman at work, and I worked there for about 5 years. And so I think about my second year there, she came to me and asked me to be her mentor, which I did. So my last 4 years, we met about every 2 weeks, and we worked on all the things that she wanted to improve: her decision quality, her strategic mindset, her financial acumen, and she made wild improvements in all of these areas. And I was really, really proud of her. However, I remembered that in our very first session, she had mentioned that even though she was a project manager and she'd built a really great career in that field, she'd always wanted to be an attorney. And almost every session, she would drone on and on about how much she wanted to be an attorney, but she thought it was too late for her. She was much older than me. And it's too late for me, I've got kids, and I'll never do it. What if I fail? There was everything under the sun about why she couldn't make the switch from project management to being an attorney. And so when I got a new job and it was time for me to leave, in one of our last sessions, I was giving her lots of kudos about all these areas that she had improved in, but then I reminded her, I said, we've been working together for about 4 years. And she said, yeah. And then I said, well, if you would have just taken the LSAT when I met you, you would have gone and did the 3 years of law school. You probably would have passed the bar by now. And you'd probably be a first-year attorney someplace. But instead, you're still here wondering if you should. So it's really important just to make sure that you don't waste time by not having the confidence. Just do it, because what's the worst that could happen?
Love it.
Thank you.